Okay, so hello everyone. This is my fourth interview and I'm with Byron Calamese. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Very well
Okay,
done.
thank you. And so first, could you just tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do, a little bit about your job?
Sure. Yeah. I head up the New York and DC offices for Zeno.
Hmm.
And Zeno is a global mid-sized agency, fully integrated shop. So across earned media and digital and planning and insights and creative, so on and so forth. And sometimes when people ask me, the people that aren't in the marketing and PR world, what does your day look like? What is your job all about? Sometimes it's really hard to sort of answer that question, but I would say sort of it encompasses everything that would entail sort of business management, right? And so, owning a P&L, having responsibilities as it relates to people and the quality of our work and client engagement and developing really breakthrough thinking, and also having a really understanding of the financial aspects of running a business.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of pieces to it, and there's a lot of elements, and probably versatility is a word that I would use anytime you're a managing director, is the ability to understand a lot of different components of business and be able to apply that on a daily basis.
Hmm. Okay. And so could you tell me how you first got started at Zeno? Like what made you want to go there and like has this always been your path?
Yeah, no, actually. So, oftentimes I will say, did I grow up in my mid 20s or when I was in college saying, hey, I want to be the MD
Yeah.
at a agency? No, that was not the case.
Hmm.
I actually started my career in journalism. I was a reporter for the Boston Globe. It started when I was in college, and I became a student writer, and I was covering City Hall and urban affairs. And so I'm a big sports fan, and so I'd always thought I want to be a big sports writer one day, and it never led to that. But business and marketing was something that I was always interested in. And so I went, to grad school and I focused on that and got some international experience and worked both in-house at Adidas, or Adidas, as we say in the US, heading up global comms for one of their brands. And then spent more than 14 years within Omnicom, which obviously is a large holding group of agencies across advertising and PR. And I
Hmm.
decided to make the move to Zeno about a year and a half ago. I was really, really interested in working at a privately held agency because I had only worked at really big publicly held organizations for the most part. And while that really interested me is because I wanted an organization that was very much focused on long-term growth over necessarily focus on short-term margin and profit.
Hmm.
And why that was super important to me is because I'm a guy who likes to have a vision and put my stamp on things, and I wanted an organization that gave me the ability to really be able to do that and kind of craft my vision of what I wanted and where I felt our industry is going. And
Hmm.
so that's what really drove me to the organization. In addition to all the great people,
Yeah.
it's sort of, as I was going through the interview and the recruiting process, my boss, who's our CEO, Barbie Siegel, we just hit it off, right? And sometimes you just know when you
Yeah.
connect with people and individuals that vision similar, personality, we laugh the whole time. So there was definitely synergies there. But it's reason why it was brought to Zeno and kind of the entrepreneurial spirit of the organization and all the things that brought it, it fits me very well.
Hmm. And a side note, I actually used to, my freshman year, I started off as a journalism major too. So,
No, you did. See, smart move. See, you're heading in the
yeah.
right direction.
Yep. Um, so my next question is, could you tell me what it was like being, or what it is like being a Black leader in a high position?
Yeah, it's a question I've thought about um, quite a bit, even more so recently.
Hmm.
Um, in many ways, it is extraordinarily challenging, and why I say challenging is because I have always in my career, I'm a little bit of an introvert, which might surprise people. And I can certainly turn it on in certain situations and show sort of extrovert behaviors. But for me, I'd always looked at my role as a Black man and someone that was growing throughout my career as quietly going about what I was doing. And that was my comfort level, you know, and my focus had always been on, I want to bring more people of color into this industry, bring more people of color to show them the sort of wonders of marketing and PR, because there's not enough people that look like you and I that are in this industry as a whole. But I did it quietly, right? It wasn't something that like, I was like, you know, I'm going to go speak at that next panel and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do all these different things. I prefer to do it sort of a little bit under the radar. And part of that was a little bit of what I realized over time was a little bit of my own discomfort in being a growing Black male within an industry where not many people look like me, that I think I internalized that as a little bit of a, don't make that your whole focus. You know, I'm the MD, I'm responsible for a lot of different people, all different backgrounds, ethnicities, races, the whole thing. So whether they're white or Black or brown or whatever country they come from, I see them as part of my responsibility. And so I think I've always been torn in my career there a little bit of, I'm passionate about seeing more people like me in roles and senior roles within our world, but I also understand that I've got a lot of other people that I have to think about and concern myself with their career and their journey. You know, I would say that throughout my career, I've really thought about this, like when have I run into cases where I felt uncomfortable or discriminated against and I think what I found is that there are a lot of indirect situations that I perhaps again internalize that you almost become used to it. You know, you get used to coming into a big board meeting and it's all white people, right? It's almost like that's the common thing. And we as Black individuals, as minorities, we get so used to and accustomed to that, that it became the norm for me, right? I think more recently, what I have experienced sort of on a personal level and with Ahmaud Arbery and with George Floyd, I came to the conclusion that I have not done enough personally as a Black man and as a senior executive. And so it has really motivated me. And while a range of emotions over the past couple of months, from anger to disappointment to everything that we're all feeling, right, every day, it has really, really motivated me to see change and to double down on efforts to see more people in our community to succeed in this career and to grow and to advocate for different things and change. So that is a very long-winded way of answering your question, that being a leader to me is a huge responsibility. And it is something that I do not take lightly. And it is something that I have been, quote unquote, trained in of what makes a really good leader and what are my weaknesses and what are my strengths. And so there are a couple of things that I would share that I've always held true to myself, is that I feel like being a good leader requires to be extraordinarily empathetic. If you're unable to feel what other people are feeling and you only look through things through your own personal lens, to me, that does not make a good leader. And it's going to make it very, very challenging to me. So that's something that I've always held sort of true to who I am and what I'm all about. I think that there's an element of logic that goes into being a leader, right? Like we all see ourselves as creatives and entrepreneurs and all of those things, but sometimes in roles like this that you need to make some difficult decisions that make logical sense. They don't always make emotional sense sometimes because you're torn. But it's the ability to use both sort of the empathy side of it, the feeling side of it, but also the logic side of it, your brain, and find that middle ground, which is so important. So, you know, those are just two things that I've always used as sort of things that I've sort of always tried to balance throughout my career and showcase the ability that you can have brown skin, Black skin, and make it to where I'm at in my career, make it to where other senior executives are in your career, work hard, have an opinion, have conviction. I found that when I was younger in my career, I had insecurities about being as confident as I should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I think those are probably insecurities that we as minorities and as Black individuals that we go through in our careers,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think everyone has probably been in a situation where they felt that. And so it's something that over time I had to break through and mature and understand that I have a voice. I bring a lot to the table. And it was sort of a confidence in myself. And now I want to make sure that others have that same confidence. And I'll end this question because I know I'm going on and on with this one point. So my niece, she is 14 now, and she is really into animation. She, every single time I go to visit, she's got her computer out and she's showing me these like little cartoons and little narratives that she's putting together. It's really good stuff. I'm really impressed. And what strikes me about that is that when I look at particularly creatives within the marketing world, there's very few people that look like my niece, right?
Mm-hmm.
And particularly within animation. I mean, that's a huge challenge. And so a part of me that says to myself, it is partly my responsibility to ensure that her journey to getting to where she wants to go is easier. Not that she's not going to work hard, not that she's not all of those things, but I want to ensure that she has the confidence and that we instill those values in her, as well as other Black men, women that are young around this country, that they have the confidence to know that you have a voice and express your voice and be who you are, be authentic to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to help you in the long run. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much for that insight. It doesn't matter how long it is. Like, I really appreciate everything you're saying. So my last question is, being a minority, do you have a mentor or mentee, and how important do you think that is?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would say, and this is probably, it's kind of sad when I think of it a little bit. I can't say that in my career I had an individual of color per se that I would identify as a career mentor. When I was earlier in my career, there were a few senior executives that were Black individuals, particularly when I was at Adidas, that I looked at, and they were senior management. We got along great and all of those types of things, and they were certainly supportive of me, but it wasn't that traditional mentor-mentee type relationship. It was just, I think I looked at them as like, oh, wow, they're in really powerful positions, right? And so that can happen. So that part of it was helpful for me. But I certainly have had people over my career that I would consider that I learned from and really took me under their wing. White individuals who did that, and I think that they saw something in me. I think that they saw a talent, and but what's great about that is that I was able to sort of understand different perspectives and different values and different ways of looking at the world, and that is super important to me. And I would say that if I were to advise someone that's in college now or at a junior level of their career, is yes, mentors are super important, and I think that is valuable if you can find one individual that you connect with and that they take you under their wing. But I would say that you can learn a lot by just being curious with a number of different people. Talk to different people. Don't wait, right? Don't sit back and just assume like, oh, someone's going to come to me and help me along my career or be that mentor for me. I think there's a level of aggression that we all need to take, and sort of in a good way. When I say aggression, just in a very proactive way, is to be able to sit back and say, okay, if I want something, I've got to be able to identify the right people that I can learn from, regardless of their background, regardless of their ethnicity or race or whatever that may be. but that I can take something from that individual.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, I had one boss who I learned a lot about business from,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like he was a great mentor from that standpoint. So he brought a lot of the logic side of it, right? So I learned. I had another manager who helped me understand the more empathy side of things, right? Like and really listening to people and really understanding them. So I look at mentors as people that when you look at your craft and you look at your development as a professional, there are so many different pieces of that that we all can improve. And I improve and I try to improve every day, right? So I'm not a finished product by any means, but the ability to take nuggets from different individuals and use that to evolve, both good and bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are people that I've worked with and I say to myself, ooh, I don't want to be that way, right?
Right.
That's not something that I want to follow. And that's not the approach that I would take. But it is something that I would say, particularly as Black individuals, the ability to not wait, have an understanding of what you want in your career, and then identify the people that are going to help you learn. Stay extraordinarily curious.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can find that in another person that looks like you, that's Black, or another person that has a shared interest, right? Or whatever their background, creed, religion, whatever it is, you can certainly learn from people.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, at this stage of my career, one of the things that's really important to me is to serve as a mentor for other Black and brown talent.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the things that I've learned, I want to be able to share that with other individuals that look like me, because I think that the added support, I could have used more of that during my career.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have enough role models that I think that looked like me. I had a lot of role models, but that looked like me, that would have maybe helped along that process. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that's super important to me, particularly moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I completely agree with that, because my employer right now, Leanne, she's amazing. Like, I learn from her every single day, and she's not Black. And I just appreciate everything that she does for me. And even like with this series, all the people I'm talking to, and I don't care that this, like, you feel like you're talking for a long time. Like, you're saying some really encouraging things. And I appreciate that, especially during this time in the world. It's really helpful to hear things that are going to like build me up for the future. So that was the end of my interview, and I appreciate you speaking with me, and I'm going to take what you say for the rest of my life. So thank you so much for talking.
Absolutely. Let's certainly stay in touch. Let's
Definitely.
connect on LinkedIn. And
Mm-hmm.
just one question for you. And so you're taking these interviews, and what is beyond like personal guidance for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
What are you, even if it's not necessarily quotes, but the inspiration that you're taking from some of these interviews, what do you hope ultimately it turns into?
I guess just nothing specific. Just like, I really appreciate hearing advice from people not necessarily older than me, but like have experience in something that I desire to do.
Sure.
So, and like, I'm in the PR world now. I switched my major to PR, so that's what I'm doing. And I just really appreciate, like, I don't know, just all my life, I just love hearing advice and hearing what other people have to say. And like, I'm a writer, so I love hearing other people's stories and like incorporating that into my own story, and then, like you said, sharing that with other people after I learn it. So just in general, just hearing the journey of other people is really important to me. So
Sure. Well,
I just feel like it's really
the
going to
thing
help.
that you just said, that's super powerful to me, and it's what I share, and it's what I hold true to my heart. Stay curious.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more you do things like this, those nuggets again that I talked about, you're just going to take more and more from that and just learn from every conversation that you have. So kudos to you for doing that. Best of luck with things. Let's again absolutely stay in touch. And if there's anything else I can do to help in the future, feel free to shoot me a note.
I will, and I'll be connecting with you on LinkedIn.
All right, terrific. Enjoy your weekend.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Okay. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
You too.